Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Friday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather, and sports. I am Glenora Shipura. In the news tonight, the Office of the President says Hydrogen Commissioner James Nupe, who accompanied late President Hage Geingob on his last international trip, was selected to provide the late statesman with technical support. It follows Geingob's trip to Los Angeles, United States of America, where he underwent a novel cancer treatment. Presidential spokesperson clarified Nupe's role, saying he was not the only official who was assigned to travel with Geingob. Mr. James Nupe traveled as an advisor and senior aide to the president to provide technical support to the president if and when deemed necessary. I would like to re-emphasize the fact that the president requires technical support at all times to carry out his or her duties effectively, Hengari said. It is always required that a president accompanied by relevant staff members execute core functions, Hengari further explained. Letters may need to be drafted, correspondence needs to be attended to, and statements and media releases need to be drafted at short notice. It is for that reason the president is always accompanied by relevant staff members to perform certain core duties at short notice. Nupe, on inquiry from Namibian Sun last month, dismissed insinuations that Geingob might have signed critical green hydrogen agreements while on his sickbed, following revelations last week that he signed off on the appointments of Bank of Namibia board members while he was in hospital. Those allegations are unfounded. President Geingob traveled to the United States to undergo medical treatment as expressed in various press statements from the Namibian presidency. He was not on official business and therefore did not participate in any activities about the governance of the country, Nupe said. State House announced in January that Geingob, who was diagnosed with cancer, had accepted a medical offer by leading scientists and medical professionals in Los Angeles to undergo novel therapy for the disease. Geingob was buried at the Heroes Acre last month on the 25th of February and received a hero's farewell. Still on the Namibian presidency, President Dr. Nangola Mbumba received a courtesy visit from Ambassador Antonio Tete, the special envoy of Angola, who is also the Angolan Minister of External Relations. Ambassador Antonio Tete delivered a message from His Excellency João Lourenço, President of Angola, on matters of mutual interest affecting both countries and the region at large. However, Namibian mining minister officials were allegedly not part of this conversation, and there has also been no justification for the presence of Attorney General Festus Mbandeka at the meeting. The Deputy Mines Minister Cornelia Shilunga and Festus Mbandeka, the Attorney General, are also part of the Namibian delegation. Hengari confirmed that mining was a conversation on the table. However, Hengari insisted that information would only be available to the public and media in the next 2 or 5 days. There were issues in that sector, the mining sector, that are of common interest. As I said, the presidency will communicate by press release, or we do an interview with you and communicate the discussions, but this is not the right time, he told the media. The following footage is courtesy of the Namibian presidency. Let's take a look.
Most welcome.
Thank you, President. Thank you.
I know you have a long route to follow.
Right.
And, we hope today here we will finalize our consideration.
Exactly.
And after that, you'll be able to proceed to your next destination. And we're very, very grateful that His Excellency João Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola, was here for 2 days, long days.
Yeah.
I know for a head of state to be absent from headquarters is a clear recognition of the importance he attached, that we were mourning, that we were crying But as a brother and a senior brother, he came to tell us there is still hope and we should continue to behave ourselves. So we are grateful for that.
No, thank you. We will convey. It's a duty for a brother and sister from Angola or Namibia. You would have done the same also if this happened. And you did it when President, we have the funeral also, President Dos Santos in Angola. So definitely, this is how we should act in ourselves.
Namibia and Angola share a common border, a common history, and as you will recall, the assistance of the Republic of Angola to Namibia during the very difficult period after the passing of our president, Hage Geingob, has been quite consequential. And the president of Angola has sent the special envoy, Ambassador Antonio Tete, who is the Minister of External Relations, to convey a message to His Excellency President Nangola Mbumba on matters of mutual concern and interest that affect the interest of both Namibia, Angola, as well as Botswana.
Now, the local aviation sector is waiting with bated breath to see if Namibia's frantic efforts to meet global aviation safety standards were successful or not. A high-level audit team from the United Nations specialized agency responsible for aviation, International Civil Aviation Organization, is currently preparing to jet into the country to conduct a safety assessment from the 6th to the 18th of March 2024, which will determine whether the country's aviation facilities meet the set international aviation standards. Following a chain of systematic failures in the aviation sector due to the lack of training of key personnel, such as firefighters, which led to the downgrade of the country's biggest airport in 2014, the government is optimistic that its house is in order just days before a major safety audit is to be performed. Now, critics are convinced the country is more likely to be downgraded. However, a high-level government committee established by the government last year to ensure that the country is ready for the audit holds a contrary view. The committee was established after the Namibia Civil Aviation Authority last year raised concerns over the looming audit, but there are fears that the government left it too late. Some of the key issues flagged by ICAO during the damning 2014 safety audit included shortcomings in areas of aviation meteorology, lack of critical equipment at Hosea Kutako International Airport, simulated disabled aircraft removal equipment, and training of aircraft rescue and firefighters services. Namibia Airports Company CEO BC Uirap yesterday reiterated that it is all systems go for the upcoming ICAO audit, which is scheduled to commence next Wednesday. Zandre Duvenesh of the AMT project talks to Yolanda Nell about the awarding of the 12,500th person inside the mobile planetarium at the Holy Convent Primary School. Let's take a look. We seem to be having some difficulties.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined with Zandre Duvenage of the Africa Millimeter Project, and we are at the Holy Convent Primary School. And today we are handing over the award for the 12,500th person inside the mobile planetarium. What does this mean?
Well, I mean, for us, it's a massive privilege to be able to award this certificate to the 12,500th visitor of the planetarium. I mean, this project started 20 months ago in May 2022 when the first Namibians were trained to drive this. They were 2 Namibians who knew how to control it. They since have trained others. Now we have a team of 20 Namibians ready to take this planetarium to kids. And they've been traveling Namibia across and taking this to schools and really trying to inspire kids about science and math.
Well, technical difficulties averted with that video. Moving on, in our Story of the Day segment, award-winning investigative journalist and broadcaster discuss with local journalists. We get into this after the break. South African award-winning investigative journalist and broadcaster Devi Sankari Govender is talking with local journalists at Out of Nature Resort. The event is sponsored by Standard Bank Namibia.
Imagine the cheek of that. Didn't even really have a proper job, and suddenly I'm writing notes of what I think I could do better. In the meantime, I kept thinking I have a gap in my knowledge. Remember I was talking about safety nets? I keep thinking, I can picture myself doing these things on carte blanche, but my biggest problem right now is that I don't have a financial background. Very arty-farty. The whole background is arts. But I need to be able to sit in front of the CEO of a company and be able to read his financial statements and find where the money went myself. I'm not going to take that and go to some actuary who's then going to tell me, and then I'm going to sit on TV. Now I can't look back to the producer to ask for an answer. I need to know it myself. So what did I do? Signed up for an MBA. Everybody, at the Sunday Times, SABC, they said to me, you are mad. One, it was such an expensive degree. They were not going to subsidize it anyway. I said, no, I'll pay for it myself because I'm feeding my own mind. And at the same time, I got married, so the best decision I made, so that I didn't get divorced, was I made my husband do an MBA with me as well. Because then we suffer together. If one is going for lectures and it all becomes a problem. So while I was doing the MBA, I tell you guys, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life, because I was taking this brain and squashing it and squeezing it into a space that it had never ever been in, ever. But I studied, I did well at it, I paid for it somehow, I don't know how. Fell pregnant with my first child after the wedding, don't get excited. And then I sent off my show reel to carte blanche. Show reel, as you know, I was doing some Indian TV, again must do the Indian TV, but you didn't need too many brain cells to do that show. Continuity presenting, guys. You sit there, you look pretty, someone else makes you look pretty, you read the auto cue. You didn't even write the script for the auto cue. But it gave me an understanding.
According to Economic News, Namibia Hydrogen Fund manages secures funding to the tune of $19.2 million Namibian. After the break, we expand on this.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
Namibia Hydrogen Fund Managers Limited has secured a grant of nearly $19.2 million Namibian from the USAID Southern Africa Mobilizing Investment Project. Green Hydrogen Commissioner James Newper said the grant is historic, being the largest award outside South Africa, and thus he is hopeful it will bolster the SDG Namibia One Fund. The fund, which is managed in collaboration with Climate Fund Managers and the Environmental Investment Fund of Namibia, The fund aims to catalyze green energy, water access, job creation, emission reduction, and sustainable economic growth, projecting a total fund value of $1.15 billion, stated Nupé. He revealed that the 7 executives have been appointed to the Namibia Green Hydrogen Program. In the same vein, he said Hyphen Hydrogen Namibia is making progress in executing, finalizing, and working towards initiating the formal feasibility study phase. About $10 billion in the funding was secured for this process. These efforts, he said, are being supported by ongoing engagements with the International Finance Corporation, and local stakeholder meetings underscore Hyphen's commitment to thorough socio-environmental responsibility. Nupé also announced that the Africa Climate Foundation has formalized its commitment to the Namibian Green Hydrogen Program by signing a Memorandum of Understanding with the Environmental Investment Fund. The MOU outlines ACF's support, including financial assistance and technical expertise, to aid the program in fulfilling its mandate and implementing policy interventions. As the first African-led climate change re-granting organization, ACF, established in 2020, focuses on grant-making, research, technical assistance, and advocacy to promote low-carbon transitions and enhance resilience in climate-vulnerable sectors, he said. Let's get into our financial indicators. The Namibian dollar trades against the British pound at 24.16, against the euro at 20.72, against the US dollar at 19.17. 2 Namibian dollars and 67 cents gets you 1 Chinese yuan. On the commodities market, copper and platinum went down, while gold and Brent crude oil went up. Brent crude oil trading at 1.59%, going for $84 per barrel. In international news, Facebook owner Meta says it will no longer pay for news in Australia. We get into this after the break. Said earlier today that it will not enter into new commercial deals for traditional news content in Australia, France, and Germany. Meta will discontinue a tab on Facebook which promotes news in Australia and the United States, it said in a statement, adding that it cancelled the news tab last year in the UK, France, and Germany. The decision pits Meta against the Australian government, which under a 2021 law opposed by Meta has the power to appoint a mediator who determines how much big tech firms pay for news links. News publishers and governments like Australia have argued that Facebook and Google unfairly benefit when links to news articles appear on their platforms. Australia's government said it is seeking advice from the Treasury Department and the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission about its next steps. Australian Communications Minister Michelle Rowland on Friday said Facebook's announcement was an abrogation of responsibility to Australia's news media sector. Facebook's decision takes the debate between the government and major social media corporations back to square one, communications expert Peter Lewis told Reuters. Let's take a look.
The announcement by Meta today is an abrogation of responsibility to Australia's news media sector. Australian journalists provide one of the most important public goods in our democracy, and Australian news media publishers deserve to be fairly compensated for the investments that they make in that.
Today's decision opens up more questions than answers. They've basically taken off their fig leaf of Facebook News, and we're back to where we were when that whole debate around what is the value of news content was running out 3 years ago. And the deal was that they would set up a transfer of value. They never conceded the value of the news, but they set up Facebook News almost as a fig leaf to say, we don't accept that there's an inherently more valuable quality of information and news content, but we'll give you money anyway because we're setting up this thing called Facebook News. Now they've taken down Facebook News, and now they're going to say, I told you no one uses it. No one ever thought it would be.
Now, the capital city have been experiencing some rain. Let's take a look at what the rest of the weather predictions look like for the capital city and the rest of Namibia. Katima Mulilo can expect partly cloudy conditions with a minimum of 18 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 36 degrees Celsius. Rundu can expect sunny weather. Oshakati can expect partly cloudy conditions with a minimum of 23 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 37 degrees Celsius. Henties Bay, Swakopmund and Walvis Bay can expect sunny weather. Henties Bay can expect a minimum of 18 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 22 degrees Celsius. Rehoboth can expect partly cloudy conditions with a minimum of 20 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 32 degrees Celsius. Ari Hohat will bring us international sports news right after the break.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
International sports news, and starting off with golf news first, and it's tournaments being played on the men's PGA and the ladies PGA. Firstly, the men's PGA, it's the Cognizant Classic that's being played at PGA West. It's a beautiful golf course in Palm West on the Florida coast, and the leader there after the first round is Chad Ramsey on a 7 under par. A few South African golfers also playing in the tournament and doing well. It is Eric van Rooyen on 5 under par, and then also Carrick Hugo. He is on 4 under par, and they just 3 and 4 shots behind the leader after the first round. Rory McIlroy also playing in the tournament. He had a 4 under par round in the first round. On to the ladies PGA, it's the HSBC Ladies Championship that's being played in Singapore, and the leader there is Céline Bautier at the moment. She's from France, a good first round of 7 under par. On to cricket news, it's the first test between Australia and New Zealand that's being played in Wellington in New Zealand. That is at the Basin Reserve, and it is the first innings. It was Australia scoring 383, and then New Zealand bowled out for 179, and it is Australia that lead by 217 runs after the second day. That is after being 13 for a loss of 2 at the close of play on the second day. On to tennis news, it's a Dubai Tennis Championship that continues. It's the semi-finalists that have been confirmed, and it was in the quarterfinals. It was Ugo Humbert. He is from France, and he beat Hubert Hukrats by 3-6, 7-6 and 6-3. Tough assignment now for him. He needs to play the number 1 seed, and that's Daniel Medvedev, who easily beat Alexandra Fokino by 6-2 and 6-3. So that will be the one semi-final. The other semi-final will be Andrei Rublev, the number 2 seed. He will play against Alexander Bublik. It was Andrei Rublev that beat Sebastian Korda of the United States by 6-4 and 4-3. It was in the second set when Sebastian Korda retired hurt. And to conclude today's international sports news, it is football news. It is Paul Pogba, the French international footballer, that said his ban from international football was incorrect and he pleads his innocence. It was Pogba that was banned for 4 years after elevated testosterone levels were found in his blood. And that first sample was in August. The second sample was in October. That was done by the Italian anti-doping agency. So Pogba is 30 years old at the moment. He also played for Manchester United. He currently plays for Juventus, but he lost that contract now, and he will only be eligible to play again in 2027. Then he will be 34 years old. That's international sports for today, and I hope you have a great sport day and sport weekend, and we talk international sport again on Monday. Goodbye.
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Friday evening. From me, Glenora Shipura. Until next time.